Hey everyone, this is DyanaRozay. Welcome to my channel. I'm bringing you guys a mid-season review for Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 4, Episode 15, and it was called Rotten Tomatoes. So I actually like this episode. It was just a bunch of cliffhangers, but there was 2 scenes with Martell and then a scene with Kimmy and Maurice that kind of made a very big punch, and I'm going to tell you guys all about it. But before I begin, go ahead and hit that like button right now, you guys. That will help push me up in the algorithm so that others can find me. I am still growing this channel, so I truly appreciate it if you guys do that. And then also hit that notification bell and that subscribe button. Thank y'all so very much for rocking with me. Now let's get started. So the scene opens with Tisha, Kimmy, and Tiffany. Tisha invited the ladies to a rock climbing gym, and they meet with an instructor, and he takes them to the kiddie wall, and they all decide to climb. Kimmy says that she's afraid of heights, but she actually went all the way to the top and came back down. When she got back on the ground, though, she started crying, and it was really interesting to watch because I'm afraid of heights too. I actually jumped off of a cliff and I did a skydive. And I have to say, even though I did both of them, like I'm going to face my fear, facing the fear doesn't mean that you won't be afraid of it next time. It just means that you'll never do it again. Okay, but it is good to face your fears. And even though that had nothing to do with the show, my little part, it was just interesting to watch. So she came back down, she started crying, the ladies consoled her. And then Tisha asked them if they were interested in going on the marriage retreat that Dr. Francis had invited her to the last episode. And Kimmy, they're all on board. Kimmy says, you know what? Dr. Francis was very helpful in getting Maurice to, finally take me on my honeymoon. All of them rehashed the ATL trip as well. They talked about the rage room and the strip club. Tiffany shared more about her, bedroom problems with Louis. And but yeah, all the girls are on board, and they said that they are going to figure out a way to let their husbands know that this is going to happen. So that's pretty much how that scene ends. Let's get to the next one. So Melody's mom came over to visit, and she is helping Melody pick out outfits to wear because she is co-hosting the new opening of an amphitheater in Huntsville, and that is a very big deal. In fact, it is historic. So she was asked, she's super excited. And then Melody's mom says, I wish the kids could be there to see you, because I guess that'll be Martell's weekend or week, excuse me. And Melody says, they have not talked, and she is really comfortable in the space that she is in. And she, would like for things to get better or be better between them. However, she said right now, she just does not see that. Melody's mom tells her that she is very proud of her for standing her ground. She said that she should not do anything until she is ready, and that she thinks that Martell is being evil right now because he is not healed and he is not able to accept the responsibility for the things that he have done. So that is how. So next up, we have Martell and Louis. And I don't know how much time has lapsed since the Atlanta trip, but it feels like just a week or two. And we all remember that Martell was sowing all of his wild oats when he was in Atlanta. I mean, literally slinging it up, down, all around, pointing out women that he wanted to have his 6th baby. You just didn't know what was going on because he was being a complete and total hoe. So Louis is trying to appeal to his whole side. Like, let's talk about something you know about. How are things? You know what I'm saying? Are you still out there in them streets? And Martell says, I'm looking for a woman. And Louis is like, oh, is that right? And Martell's like, yeah, I miss my marriage. Louis actually stops and kind of like bucks his eyes like, oh, damn, where's this conversation going? And all of us were like, where's this conversation going? Because, sir, I beg your pardon, you had a marriage. You had a good marriage. So what the hell do you mean you're missing your marriage? But that makes sense because you know what? Martell needs to be taken care of. And when I say taken care of, I don't mean, the oral way, even though he act like that was the deal breaker. People who say shit like that, and it's good that he is getting what he deserves right now in this situation, because People really think that, oh, you know what, even though that you clearly weren't doing it in your marriage, like Melody has pointed out more than enough times, y'all have 4 children together, so you damn sure were having relations, but you act like that one little thing was a deal breaker for you. And now you can't get out of your own way because you literally, like I said in my last video, you are in a losing season, sir, and it is what it is. However, Martell goes from saying, I miss my marriage, and realizing that he had that slip up, his eyes actually roll up into the air like, ooh, did I say that? And then he switches it to, I miss marriage. I am ready to get married right now. I loved marriage. Even Louis is trying to reel him in like, you mean you love the family aspect of it? Yeah, I love the family aspect of it. In confessional, he says, I know I'm going to have a hard time finding someone, but I do love the dynamics of marriage. You love being taken care of. You love for a woman to be there to make sure that your day looks a certain way, because you will never find that again. Melody is a one of a kind in that situation. She is very organized, very regimented, and for a person like you who is all willy-nilly, you know what I'm saying? You need somebody like that in your life, and we already know that you don't have it. So anyways, he goes from saying all that, realizing that he made the slip up, to talking bad about Melody in the very same scene. Says that the woman has a black heart, and that when Louis gets to know her better, he's going to see what he's talking about. And Louis is like, is that right? Then Louis says, is that right? And then Louis tells him, well, whatever you do, man, just remember to be true to yourself. And I was like, you just heard this man have 15 ways of thinking about a relationship in this very conversation, when just 2 weeks ago, he was all over the map with his member. You should have been telling him, have you thought of therapy? Have you thought of going to a therapist at this point? That would have been some really good advice. But anyway, let's get to the next scene. So Kimmy and Maurice, even though we have never heard this conversation before, Kimmy seemed like she could keep up with Maurice. And at the beginning of, I think, last season, they were talking about threesomes. And Kimmy was like, well, if we was to have one, Maurice know who I would do it with. He could give you a name and all this other stuff. Girl, okay. The scene opens with Maurice and Kimmy. Kimmy has luggage on the bed. Maurice walks in. He's like, hey, what's going on? What's about to happen? And then Kimmy lets him know, how about we go on this marriage retreat? And he's like, no, he's very much against it. I don't want to go. He said that, they don't have anything to work out. He said that he thought he was fixed, or that he had worked out everything already, because he had already saw Dr. Francis. They went on the honeymoon. He said he doesn't want to hear about anybody else's problems. He don't want anyone else's problems bringing him down. And Kimmy was like, listen, it's always a good idea for us to hear what's going on in other relationships. It will definitely help us with ours. And then she said, do you not believe that there is any room for improvement? And then he goes, sex every day. And Kimmy looks at him kind of crazy, and she said, Maurice, no. She was like, I can't do it every day. I think that's just a ridiculous way of thinking. And she was like, you're already, I have a problem with you now. We do it, at 6 p.m. I turn around and your pants are down and you're ready to do it again at 10. I don't, my drive isn't there. And he actually looked at her like, well, and I'm just going to say it, if you can't give it to me, then I'm going to have to outsource it, okay? Because we all know that those Scott brothers are on the same team and they do the same things, okay? But Kimmy just looks at him like he's crazy. And then she says, I'll tell you what, if you want to go on if you'll go on this retreat, then I will do it with you every day. And he says, I'll do it if we do it twice a day. That's the only way I will go on the retreat. And she told him that he was crazy, basically. She was like, there's no damn way I'm doing it with you twice a day. And I would have to say, there's no way you should even do it with him once a day. Do it when you feel like it. I do agree that you guys have to have some sort of, I guess you have to be on the same page about it at some point. But how did you marry this man? How did you wait 7 years for a ring and then get married to this man, and him having this crazy thing with needing it at least 2-3 times a day, and you can't meet his needs? That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, Maurice says, you know what? I'm going to go. Don't worry about it. However, I do find it interesting that my wife is unwilling to do something that would make our marriage better. And he seems serious as a heart attack too. And that's how that scene ends, basically. And again, just last week, Kimmy was in her confessional said, you know what? Melody thinks everyone is cheating, and I don't believe that he was cheating. I think they just had fun. And she had this big fake ass grin on her face. But the truth of the matter is, if this man needs it like that and you can't keep up with him, then his going out of town for a day, for 5 days, for a couple of hours means that there's always a chance that he could be doing something that he shouldn't be doing. So let's get to the next scene. So Tiffany and Louis talk about the couples retreat. They are also packing. They have a little cute banter back and forth about the luggage. And then Tiffany says that she has to leave the retreat early because she has a speaking engagement in Birmingham. Louis, and she says it like, well, I'm going to leave you there. So just know I'm going to leave early. And I thought, what a weird thing to say. It's a couples retreat. And Louis says, well, why wouldn't we just leave together? We came together. Wouldn't we leave together? And I was like, yeah, Tiff, you have been making it seem like, you know, you guys, I don't know. I just felt like, who thinks like that? Wouldn't you just be like, well, we're going to have to leave early because if I'm going, you're going. But it was Louis who had to bring it in perspective with her. And now I'm feeling like Louis might be pretty solid in the marriage. It's Tiffany who might be out of sync at this point, because we did see like clips of Louis crying at the retreat. So I think Dr. Francis may have brought out some real emotion from Louis, and I think that it's Tiffany who is the problem. But Louis actually says some things about, you know, maybe we can talk to him about what we have going on in the bedroom. And then Tiffany said, and maybe we can also talk to him about having a baby. And that is how that scene ends. So next scene is Tisha and Marsau, and they have to do their part to talk about the couples trip. And you can always tell when Tisha and Marsau have rehearsed a scene. Tisha smiles a lot. It's a little weird. Marsau is a better, he knows how to play it off better. But he comes in and he's like, oh, hey, baby girl, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? And she tells him that she's packing for a trip that they're going to take. And he's like, okay, well, what are we doing? And she said, do you want me to surprise you? And he's like, no, tell me what's up. And then she says, well, we're going on a couples trip. And she tells him it is with Tiffany, Louis, and of course, Kimmy and Maurice. And he's like, why would we go on a trip with Tiffany and Louis? I don't even, Louis isn't any fun. And then he says, you know what? Louis is fun. I have fun with him in ATL. But do you even get along with Tiffany? Because, we all remember what happened between her and Tiffany, and Destiny talking about she was going to drag her through the streets and all that stuff. But Tisha said, yeah, we squashed the beef. And actually, in that beginning scene when Tisha, Kimmy, and Tiffany were all talking, they did seem like a more cohesive friendship group than Tiffany actually seems with Melody or Destiny or anyone else on the show for that matter. But Marsau plays along, and, even though Tisha does not tell him it is a marriage retreat, because she said that this is one of those times where it is better to ask for forgiveness than to actually tell him what's going on. Marsau ends up saying, I think this trip is going to be amazing. I can't wait to go. But he did it in a very facetious way, which is how you also know that they basically, rehearsed the whole scene before it started. He even made little jokes like he was being cute. Oh, Tisha, can we go to the cigar bar? Can we go to the mall? All this other crap, knowing damn well that he doesn't let Tisha plan those kind of trips for him. Because again, didn't y'all say y'all don't really do stuff like that? He even said, can we invite Martell because he's fun? And then Tisha was like, no, this is a couples trip. We are going to learn to have fun with the couples that we are actually with. And that's how that scene ends. And the last scene was Martell and Melody. Melody is doing her co-hosting for the new amphitheater, and her mother actually shows up with some of her team people who are helping her, and she's like, "Hi mama," her mama's wearing the shirt that says "coins to make, not friends to fake." They made sure they zoomed in on that t-shirt too, in the words. And then we Melody does a hosting gig. We get to see Martell walk up, and he has the children with him, and they go and they sit out there, they watch Melody, and then they all come to the back dressing room area or wherever she's at. And the kids are, they're super happy to see their mama, and she's hugging all of them, and you could just feel like a genuine happiness from the children. And Melody, she just seems really happy to see her babies. And then Martell comes in, and Melody says, I haven't seen him in months. We haven't talked, and I don't want him to do anything to mess up my energy. That's what she says in her confessional. But Martell comes in, and he looks at her, and he has the most awkward look on his face. Both of them, actually, to the point of where Melody is looking at the camera guy, because you can tell they're probably trying to encourage them to talk to each other, but they can't speak. They don't know what to say in the moment. So they're trying to give each other real, normal pleasantries, like, "Oh, it's hot outside," and "Oh, where's Sugar Mama? You should have brought my baby." And he's like, "Well, it's too hot for her." And she was like, "Oh, she would have loved the drums." You know what I'm saying? So this is their first time talking and engaging each other about the children, like verbally, and it was really wild to see. And then Martell actually says, "Is this the first concert at the amphitheater?" And she says yes. And then he high fives her, and I guess the clap was the energy that, they were touching each other. And they do this flashback scene of Melody and Martell when they were in a happier place. And I have to say, if anybody who has ever been in a relationship where that relationship breaks up and you see each other again, there's always that awkward weirdness, because we saw Melody and Martell, they were always in lockstep together. Melody even said it. She was like, "We can fight each other at home and, not be talking, and we could still go to an event and turn it on because we know how to do that." That's part of their success. And that is why they actually shine together on the screen, because they know how to do that. The awkward part was, even though they know how to do that, they were sitting there like, "Damn, should we be doing that? Like, what do we do next?" You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. But they do the hand clap, and then they just do the flashback, and that was pretty much how it ended. But this scene was all energy. It's really hard to describe other than it was awkward, but it was also nostalgic, I guess. That would be the best way to explain it. But then we get a preview of what's going to happen in the next half of the season. And damn, that fight scene will be shown as a part of the season, okay? We see Melody walk into Destiny's shop, and she gives Kimmy this warm hug, and I guess she did not speak to Destiny, and she started walking out, and Destiny ran from behind the counter to say, "Bitch, you're not going to speak to me? How dare you? I should have thrown your ass out like you threw Tisha out." And Melody is like, "Bitch, peace. Like, I have nothing for you." And that was really interesting to watch. And then Melody took that energy that she had pulled from going into that store and hearing Destiny, and took it right on out there to Wanda, and basically said, "I heard you were looking for me," the way Tisha came at her in that Galentine's event. And that's when it all went down, okay? And we got to see Marsau flip the hell out. That was real. That was a real fight scene. Marsau had on those hip huggers. I know that he had like, you know how things are too tight and you have like the impressions in your skin? I know that he had that around his waistline, because I was like, damn. So I am looking forward to seeing what happens in the next half of the season. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you all on the next one.